Nick hears nothing.
Welcome back to The Manual, a podcast where we talk about the stuff most men's podcasts are too afraid to touch. Today's episode is going to be wild, raw, and real. Buckle up.
The 4 stages of addiction, or the 4 parts of our favorite definition of addiction. Before we dive into that, Nick, how the heck are you? Give us one fun fact from life recently. One thing you're getting fired up about. Something.
My sauna is done. It's on a timer. It's Wi-Fi activated. Anywhere in the world I can turn it on or off. I installed a ventilation system in it, which is sick. I actually plumbed a 4-inch hole through 10 inches of concrete, 4 inches wide for a pipe to go through, ventilate outside. It is, shout out to my man, Joel Downs, who owns a sauna company. What's the name of that sauna company?
Timbersonico, baby.
Timbersonico, check him out. He helped out a lot.
They just came out with flat pack. They call it the pod. It's super slick. Their cheapest option offering ever. Someone should definitely purchase one off this podcast.
What is it?
It's just it's a 5x7, probably 2, maybe 3 people. It's just easier for them to build. It's like the smallest possible version.
It's a legit bona fide wood sauna.
Yeah, so their cheapest option, no Wi-Fi connection, cedar. Their more expensive options use heat-treated pine or other types of wood that are more premium options with more bells and whistles. The Wi-Fi, upgraded heater, stuff like that. But I was just on their website the other day because I've been seeing stuff come out on social media. So shout out to Timbersonico, but keep going.
They do things right, and there's a lot of people out there that tell you a lot of different things. He said this matters. So the type of, the metal stuff you put on over is a big deal. Not everyone puts like these flashing. Not everyone the flashing. Not everybody puts the wood last between that metal stuff and the wood. He's like, you got to do that. You definitely want to put in a ventilation system, or at least have a solid vent going outside. So glad I did everything right. I'm done. It feels good to have created something, and then to do it. So I got the expensive cedar. Is Western cedar. That would have been over $2,000 to do the whole confessional. I got Eastern cedar for about $500. Got a bunch of it. It's Eastern aromatic cedar, and this stuff is potent. I turned it on, went in there, and my eyeballs were sweating within 10 seconds. And I asked Chat, and Chat said, let it burn for a few hours. Just get all the stuff out. Yep. So yesterday morning, first time in there, I got up at 4:20. I had it turn on at 3:50. By 4:20, it was about 190 degrees. Sat in there for 10 minutes and sweat. Did a cold plunge and went and worked out. And so, super pumped about that. This Saturday, I'm having awesome. Yeah, it's freaking sweet. And having a couple local Freedom Group guys over to it's the old chapel, but we still call it the chapel in my basement, which is what we turned one of the confessionals into, the sauna. So we got a few guys coming over to do some different things that we typically do on the intensive, but we're going to be doing it in person here locally, just 3 hours, 10 a.m. to 1 p.m. Do some different reflexive performance reset stuff, kind of hitting body pressure points in the body to get you out of sympathetic into parasympathetic state, and then do some breath work, some kind of Wim Hof / holotropic breath work for about an hour and a half, and then doing some sauna, cold plunging at the end of it all. So I'm super pumped for that.
Come on. That's awesome. Yeah, I think you had sent a text in the past week about Saturday being the deadline, but you finished it. Or was that last Saturday?
Well, this coming up Saturday was the deadline because I wanted to have the guys over. I could have done it either way, but I wanted to christen the sauna. So
let's
we
go.
Can go
so
4 deep
you've
in
been
there.
in it without the eyes burning. After stuff cooked out.
3 days ago, I burned it for a few hours, and then yesterday morning, I hopped in there. And my eyes were still sweating a little bit, but it's sweet. It's sweet, man.
Building, dude. Building with your hands.
Isn't it something?
I think every guy needs to figure out some way to build something. It doesn't have to be house projects. It doesn't have to be super elaborate either. I'm not a finisher. I love ripping stuff out and tearing stuff down and anything in a house building project that isn't like putting the finishing touches on stuff. I'm all about it. Caulking is my worst nightmare. Demolition's my best friend.
Is that right?
But I think there's just something really, even if it's just going through the stage of development, that I think we all have to do. So, but and to have built something yourself. I mean, the kind of pride I'm sure you take
100%.
in it, and all the imperfections you notice as a result of you doing it yourself.
Nobody else will notice, but I
Nope.
see them.
Yeah. So how
Yeah.
does the fan turn on and off? Is it connected to the rest of the system, the heater system, or is that independently wired and you just flip the
It's
switch on and
separate,
off?
so it's independently wired. I can turn it on and off to any level I want, but it also has a thermostat, little knob, or a little node inside the sauna that drops in there right next to the temperature thermometer for the heater. So once it hits a certain temperature, I can just automatically turn it on or have it automatically. So
cool.
around I think I have it set to 140. Once it hits 140, that goes, because you want that air circulation so it doesn't get really stuffy. You can get kind of headache sitting in the sauna. It's in the middle of my basement. I want it to go outside. So so automatically,
That's awesome, man. Congratulations. That's
Thank you.
You've been at it for a bit, so that's super cool.
It was my Father's Day. I think I might have mentioned this before. My Father's Day present was permission to build a sauna.
Yep.
Let's go. What about you, man? One update recently. Was something good?
We had a kid. We had a child since the last time we recorded an episode. So we've been off for a couple of weeks because I have been probably doing more work than I should. But I've been off because we had our baby boy Judah John a few weeks ago, and it's been awesome. He's a great baby, awesome to have. We now have Matt will be 9 in less than a month now, a couple weeks from now. Wow. 6 and 3, and so it's really fun to watch them all just be older siblings to a baby. Cool. It's been 3 years since we had a baby in the house, so it feels fresh and new for my wife and I, and it's so fun. I mean, my daughter in particular, just like super helpful. She's changed more diapers than I have. Just like
that's huge.
Loves to be around the baby and is good at it, like trustworthy.
That's awesome.
And so it's just super fun to experience that. I haven't told you this. We've been thinking about in August the possibility of going out to South Dakota, which is last year. Every year in August for basically the past 4 or 5 years, we've gone camping for a week in South Dakota. Custer State Park, Pectola Lake, so just south of or just northwest of Rapid City. So we love it out there. I mean, until we can do the 16-hour, 18-hour drive to Colorado and then eventually Utah, it's the perfect place, 8 hours away-ish to go with our family. So we were going to go. Then we weren't going to go. Isaiah, our son, finished treatment a couple months ago on that. He's good with that, but it's some of his walking issues and challenges he has. How long can he hike? How difficult will it be for him to get around? And then with the baby, all that sort of stuff. So we've just been playing it touch and go. So then both Chris and I want to go. But we weren't figuring it out. And out of the blue, we had just talked about it, and this woman reached out to us and we had talked to her probably 4 or 5 months ago. She is part of a foundation that we got connected to through Isaiah's cancer journey. Her son passed away of childhood cancer, I think when he was in his early teens. She had talked about they were going to send a bunch of toys and gifts from a local toy shop they partner with. And then they wanted to send us away for a couple days. Cool. And so we were trying to figure out something that would work during his treatment, and just nothing was working. He would either be sick or not feel up to it, or we'd have some other thing on that weekend. And so it just was like, and in the midst of all the other stuff we're trying to schedule and do, it just got put on the back burner, and we completely forgot about it. But literally, this is probably a week and a half ago now. Krista and I are making the final decision. Can we pull this off? To go out there for 5 days. We got to get Judah baptized. His godparents are also expecting their next child. So we got to figure out how to fit it in before their baby comes the week after. And we're trying to get a priest from out of town to come in for his baptism. So we're just trying to put all this stuff together. And we're just like, my daughter has course camp
in the kitchen sink.
Before. So we were just like, I don't think this is going to work. And so we literally that morning had decided we're just not going to go this year. And then this woman out of the blue, 4 months after we had talked to her, I had messaged back and forth with her the last time, was like, hey, when are you guys going to schedule that trip? And I was like, oh, I had completely forgot about it. And so they booked us an Airbnb for 6 days to go out and stay like literally a half mile from Custer. So I was texting you because right after they booked that for us, I started looking at e-bikes because we have this double tandem bike that I can pull the kids around, and then I can put Ezra on a like attached to the bike. So I've been looking at e-bike options, and so I finally pulled the trigger on one, and so lots of fun stuff. We're going to South Dakota. My daughter's in horse camp, which is another whole story that's been just like a total godsend. There's a girl in her age that lives in our town who had the exact same type of cancer that Isaiah had, who my wife and her mom have been able to connect a bunch through treatment. And then Maddie goes to this horse camp that's a Christian Bible-based horse camp. And the woman who's running it is this girl's grandma, and the girl is in it. And she's Maddie's age. So Maddie has been asking her all kinds of questions about her experience going through. It's been like, God, man. So it's just been a lot of stuff like that that's been fun and rewarding, and like, okay, like God is fashioning our steps, and a lot of evidence of him in the small things. I just saw this clip on the social media the other day about you've done a lot of this stuff, like believing that God cares about the little things in life and asking for him and expecting him to show up in small, trivial things, right? We usually go to him when we're in desperate need of something, and it feels like a Hail Mary, right?
Right.
But do we go to him for the check downs and the easy first downs, and I need an extra yard, and like, I just want to talk to you because that's the way I would talk to my earthly father or someone I knew that cares what I'm going through and try to work things out. So I think also for me, it's a good reminder and perspective opportunity to be able to do that is to slow down and to talk to God about it all, because he cares clearly. I wasn't talking to him about whether or not we should go. It just got thrown back into our lap. And so I'm definitely
appreciative. He reminded you that maybe you should be. That's so good. That's so good. Thank you, Father.
So, yep.
Let's talk about addiction.
That's the stuff worth figuring out how to live in reality, right?
Yeah.
And that's why we want to talk about this today. I mean, we work in the craving addiction space in men's work with a lot of guys who are doing the deep work in their life to get free from the craving of pornography. And we were just on another podcast as guests a couple days ago talking about that these aren't specific muscles that you just figure out how to get free from craving, and then you can do the rest of your life. Then when you start to learn how to be free, body, mind, and spirit, you realize like, holy cow, that's good for me, body, mind, and spirit, in every other area of my life. And I noticed that sizable change and difference. And so I kind of want to set that up as sort of and I'd love to throw it to you as we launch to this discussion around addiction, that getting free from addiction, any attachment that we have, is not the point, the ultimate goal, but is also very possible. And it's very possible that by going through it, it makes us maybe even more excellent at the art of living if we had never gone through it or had to deal with this sort of final boss or boss challenger in life, if we didn't have something that we were experienced intense craving for. So I'd love to hear your thoughts about kind of the why, the context, or anything that's stirring up in you before we launch this 4-part conversation around the elements of addiction.
Yeah. So first of all, this is a big conversation we're jumping into. We're going to cover the whole gamut in 30 minutes, guys. But I'll say this: addiction. I'm gonna plant my flag on this, and I will die on this hill. Is not a lifelong, quote, disease that you were just subject to. That yes, we have trained our brains to come to a place where maybe there's, quote, an addict brain, right? And you can retrain and rewire. For me, alcohol and porn were probably the two big ones. And literally, I can say today that it's not even, I don't know if it's on the shop, but I have an alcohol bottle up there, not just for aesthetic looks, that I'm never tempted to drink that. I don't have a craving to use alcohol anymore. I don't have a craving to reach out to sexually act out. And that's awesome. That's great. But to what end? And what's available now and what's possible now in my life? You know, phase 3 of our curriculum all goes to living forward, looking forward. And as we say, we may have said it before, but ultimately the goal and purpose of freedom and healing is to lay down your life in self-sacrificial love for those in your care. And we say it like this: to reign as a king. And in the kingdom of God, we rule as servants and we serve as kings. And it's to, it's self-awareness, as we've being said before, leading to self-mastery, which is awesome. Self-mastery might be where stoicism ends, and I love me a good stoic read and approach to life. But to what end? That is often for its own sake, but to what end? It's to self-gift, and it's giving of yourself away. And this is the offensive stuff. This is when stuff gets really exciting, when you really get some freedom in your life and some agency back and some authority back. You can start living not just for yourself, but for others. And you can love others as you love yourself, which is the command to love others as you love yourself.
Yeah. Which looks like the identity of a builder, a multiplier, and somebody who's engaged with life, right? And those kind of people are magnets.
Right.
I think often because of how few of them there are running around out there, as much as it is how attractive that way of being and existing. I appreciate you calling out the disease model, because I think it's really important from a neurological perspective to acknowledge that when you engage with a certain behavior that promotes hardcore dopamine wiring in your brain does change, right? And so just what you're not saying and what you just laid out there is to not acknowledge the fact that your brain does change when you do things, when you reinforce habit over time. That reality is true. What we are challenging is that the way that it got there to be hardwired isn't set in stone. And this is the whole idea of neuroplasticity. The more we're able to study the brain through fMRI imaging and now other modalities and ways to be able to study and look at the brain, you can actually see the brain change as you do things like act differently, right? And that matters, right? And this is a very, cognitive behavioral therapeutic approach or belief, I think, at the end of the day, of the way that this ultimately plays out or what to do about it, which we'll get into a little bit here. But just to say that what is the challenge if it's not the disease model, if it's not something I have to live with? Or we were talking on the podcast we were just on, the guy said, I know addiction through a personal lens because I'm Irish and Italian. As neurons were formed in his mother's womb, just knowing I got Irish blood in me, I'm going to be an addict, right? Yeah, but family and culture does influence the way that we end up making choices and decisions. And is it nature or nurture, which is a valid conversation. But the choice is ours, right? We get to choose, well, if I begin to believe and behave differently, my brain will look different 5 years from now. And that's a choice, and there's freedom there in making that decision. So this is our favorite definition of addiction, sort of working model of this idea or concept of addiction that we want to break out today. And that is that addiction is an illegitimate act to meet or fill a legitimate need, habituated over time without the ability to stop on your own. Word salad. That didn't all have to make sense. And we kind of hope it didn't, because that's why we're devoting time to be able to parsing this out, breaking it down, and talking through it. So let's start at the top. And at the top, an illegitimate.
Is that a question?
Pause. That's a question. Look at that transition.
Yes, sir. Yeah. I would say an illegitimate act is any act that I'll say it a couple different ways. Any decision, any action that pulls you out of living in reality. Any act that violates your ideals. Any act that undermines your integrity and goes against how you want to live and contradicts the type of person you want to be. I mean, as a Christian, the easy code, it was engraved in stone. And so that's like a great place to start, right? I mean, you have the 12 rules for life as well that are also great rules. One is always tell the truth, right? If I'm violating that, so that an illegitimate act there would be to not tell the truth, right? And it's going back to the first point is running from reality, fleeing reality. Bob Shoes, I remember the first time he told me this. He said, sin for him is a simple way of viewing sin it's really all sin can be boiled down to an avoidance of suffering. When we're unwilling to suffer anything, any discomfort is a term we often use. I'll numb it. I'll get out of that situation. I will, to use that example again, I will lie so I'm not confronted with whatever pain telling the truth might bring temporarily, right? So something, yeah. So in order to do that, in order to numb, we'll do the four categories of illegitimate acts that we give our food, abusing food, alcohol, and help me out. There's anger, and sexually acting out.
No.
The one we're all about. And it often starts in things that pull us away from community into isolation, avoidance of pain. So disordered way of getting our quote needs met outside of the boundaries of how we're created to live as humans. Even going back to what we were saying earlier, like there's something human about building something, right? There's an ordered way that a human lives, and there's just natural law, and then there's my own unique personal ideals, and an illegitimate act is something that ultimately undermines those principles for living a human flourishing life.
Yeah, I love the way that you landed the plane there, talking about that aversion to pain or discomfort, that the experience of an illegitimate act is anything that superficially helps us to avoid or mitigate some pain or discomfort that we're facing.
Yeah.
Rather than dealing with it head on, rather than allowing ourselves to feel it and to engage it and to have to face it, right? Which it ends up, if that's the definition, or it ends up, an illegitimate act can be a lot more than just something extreme like I look at pornography, right? I spend 9 hours on my phone every day.
Right.
And 4 of those hours are distraction, is where I fill every nook and cranny of time.
Right.
What would come up in life if I stopped that for a week, right? Yep. What would surface in me that I would have to face? And it could just be, it could have risen to the level of habit where it's really not covering up anything, but maybe, just maybe, it is covering over a legitimate need that if you give yourself the chance to be able to meet it, you'd realize that there's something here that I actually do need, that I have to go seek and find outside of it, that this distraction. So then what does this look like practically? So for you as the listener, for any of us, how do you figure out if there's an illegitimate act occurring in your life? My encouragement would be to sit down for 10 minutes and list out the things, as you're thinking rationally, that you don't want to do. Just write them down. Like, these are ways I don't want to behave, or these are actions that I've taken in life that don't make me happy, that I know aren't good for me, right? Maybe it's my favorite one, 5 bowls of cereal at 10 p.m. at night. I don't want to do that. That does not help me feel good. It doesn't feed my spirit. It doesn't feed my soul. It doesn't feed my mind. And it doesn't make my body healthy. But I do it, right? And it could also, or it could be something like my phone. Like when I find myself mindlessly scrolling, I am aware that that's an illegitimate act. So just make a list. What are the things that you don't want to do that you find yourself in life doing?
Yep.
That's an illegitimate act. So then it leads you to the next question, which is, why is that illegitimate act happening? And maybe, just maybe, it's occurring because there's a legitimate need that you have that's not being met. And oftentimes, illegitimate needs are born out of deprivation or the lack of experience of something, born out of isolation or pain, right?
It's the nature versus nurture thing you mentioned earlier. There's the seed bed. Certain of us are more certainly predisposed to addictive tendencies, whether it's through personality and temperament and the legitimate needs that were not met, whether through withdrawal of the gift of what we needed or through someone violating us, right? So any one of these things, is any illegitimate act an addiction? No, certainly not. But the whole context is meeting a legitimate need. So say more about that.
Yeah, there are things, deep things within us, oftentimes born out of early experiences in our life: belonging, connection, comfort, right? Soothing. Being in a control is often seen as an evil word, but being in a stable environment.
And ordered as well.
Mm-hmm.
You know, order. I love, again, I'm mentioning Bob Schuetz again for the second time, but his 7 deadly wounds, he ties them to the 7 sacraments, and confusion is one of those deadly wounds, these deep wounds that people can just like live a life of confusion. And he ties the healing of that wound to the sacrament of holy orders, and having and that's the fatherhood of God being represented on earth. And when that father is like even absent or even violates the house, and he isn't providing that stability, along with the mother for sure, absolutely right. But there's a holy control, self-control, holy order to like a household, and when that's not there, that's going to create this like you need the stability there.
In the Catholic context, you frequently hear the statement made that the Eucharist or communion is the source and summit of our faith. And I love that, not only because I'm Catholic, but I think it beautifully sums up need. That our fundamental need is for communion.
Totally.
Right? Which I appreciate that word because it goes beyond just connection, right? When I think of connection, I think of, have I hung out with buddies enough this week? Right. Have I talked enough with my wife? Am I telling people what's going on in me? Communion is almost a disposition of my heart, like I'm in communion right now. Right? And that can exist whether or not I'm hanging out with you or talking to you right now. That can exist whether I'm speaking to my wife or not. Am I within myself? Totally. Am I here and present? You know, and I'm going to bring up another spiritual giant, John Eldridge, when he says oftentimes he'll get out of a meeting and he'll go for a lap around the parking lot just to find God again. There you are, God.
So
right?
good.
And this is a daily practice that he inhabits and encourages others to do, about living in communion.
Yeah.
Right. And so this way of connection can often feel like it's something I got to do. Mm-hmm. Communion is something that we learn how to be in communion. Right. And I appreciate that because that's been my experience as I've cycled off of addiction in my own life and experienced less and less craving in my life to fewer and fewer attachments in the world. It's opened up more space and capacity in me to live at peace, to be in communion, to feel at home right here. And that, to your point about awareness, mastery, gift, gives me the capacity to be able to give more away because I have more of me here in this present moment to offer. Mm-hmm. Right. Mm-hmm. Sort of a natural byproduct. And it's certainly in that inhabiting that's not just to say that it's just me that's here, right? If I'm in genuine communion, it's God in and through me. But that as I learn how to do that and experience that need for communion, I learned to be able to give it away. And I mean, again, going back to the phone thing as an example, because I think all of us, I was just talking to a loan officer earlier today who's like, I got ADD. And I was like, oh, we all do. And she's like, she's like, I where I got it. I think the food gave it to me. And I was like, it's hilarious. This is a real conversation. And I'm
Red
like,
40.
Yeah. She's like, I think I got it from the food. And I was like, no, I'm pretty sure it's from our phones. I think our phones have trained us all to not be able to focus. I think that's where it's coming from. And she's like, yeah, you're probably right. I'm on my phone late at night all the time. It's just a hilarious conversation. But this past weekend, I wanted to experience, I've seen it all over social media, 72-hour no screen or phone, get off your phone for 72 hours, resets the dopamine system in your brain. And I saw a clip probably last Thursday from Dr. Amen citing the same study that came out that has some remarkable results of how your brain changes in that short period of time. We're all looking for life hacks, right? Everybody wants the most amount of success in the least amount of time and effort possible. And I was like, okay, like that's challenging. I don't know how I'm going to live practically for 72 hours without a phone, but I'm going to try it. Friday afternoon, put my phone in the top drawer of my bedside table and didn't grab it until Monday. And it was way easier than I thought it would be. And I was way more clear. I think I was markedly more present to what needs to happen next in process thinking, which I have ADD. Process thinking, especially when I get overwhelmed or tuned up or not sure where to go next, is a challenge and difficulty. And that stress has oftentimes thrown me into coping when I don't know what to do with it. Yeah. And just having that out of the way showed me again, like what that communion or connection can look like, even when, again, the goal isn't solely removal of the thing, but the removal helps, like I said earlier, expose us to the need that we actually have. Totally. And then we can give it to ourselves and experience more of it.
Yeah. Yeah. I try not to take it personally because I didn't even know. I'm just calling Joe all weekend. No response.
Every 15 minutes. Yeah, that's right. I just can't. No. I can't talk to you anymore, buddy.
I need communion.
That's right.
Give it to me.
I need communion, and it ain't with you. Yeah, I should
Habituated over time.
Yeah, that's right.
No, so anything. I mean, even the ADD with your loan officer is a great point because everyone. There's like legitimate ADD that people like are hunters and they're constantly surveying their environment and they're born that way. And I don't think it's a disorder. I think it's a gift. We just got to learn how to utilize that gift as a hunter living on a farm. But there's ways that our brains literally apparently have a shorter attention span than a flipping goldfish. Have you heard this? Right. 9 seconds is how long a goldfish's attention span is. Apparently the average human brain is less than that now. Why?
Now.
Because of now, currently, today.
Yep.
Yeah, I learned that from John Mark Comer. So I probably should look it up, but it's in a book, so hopefully it's true.
Yes.
But habituated. What's that?
I said it's ironclad. If they wrote it down in physical print, it has to be true.
And so addiction, it doesn't just form overnight, right? Yep. This illegitimate approach to filling legitimate needs, over time, it takes a while to get to the place to where the space between trigger and response is just smashed down to nothing. Yep. And we get in the automation loop, and these very real chains are formed in the brain. These neural connections are formed deeply ingrained in your brain and in your whole central nervous system, to where it is very, very difficult to say no to the craving, because your brain has learned that whatever drug this is, whatever I'm taking, whether it's an action or taking some exogenous chemical or food or something into my system, it works. Yep. Like for me, drinking and porn. Drinking, I used to drink before. I can't tell you, all through college, I literally drank alcohol before I spoke in front of a group of people every single freaking time. Why? Because it worked. It numbed the anxiety, right? It allowed me to be present. In that habituation over time, these pattern becomes habituated. And even, there's like, the will is never completely, right? Obviously, because that's what we're talking about. The will is never completely shut down, but certainly weakened. And over time, we build up these neural connections that take some time to break down. And our commitment to working with guys is we believe that we can do that within a year or less, because we've experienced it in our own life, to reverse those effects, to open yourselves up to rewiring the brain.
Yep. Because of the nature of the work that we do, again, it's really helpful to zoom out and to apply various forms of craving and addiction to this idea, because, again, it's not specific to porn use or porn issues or even sexual issues that we might experience, or sexual addiction we might experience. But it's useful to note in this context of legitimate need, sexuality. And fundamentally, sex is not a need.
Yeah,
right?
that's
But
good.
interestingly, what I've observed, and certainly this is not my own observation, but so many men who have experienced porn around the age of sort of the coming of age period of a young man's life, 11 to 14, in there, as he starts to become aware, as his body comes online, as he starts to experience the rush of hormones. It's interesting, maybe even not coincidental, that that's the time that he finds and discovers pornography most often.
Yeah.
The various forms of sexuality, as he starts to develop sort of a sexual sense of himself and of others. He starts to experience attraction. And in the presence of unmet needs, either because of family or environmental dynamics, most often to do with parents or the reality of home, it becomes sexualized.
Yep.
Right. And so he goes into adulthood believing he has a sexual issue. Right. Whereas the day before he got exposed to porn the first time, he didn't have a sex problem. Right.
Right.
But there were problems occurring in his life, real challenges in attachment, in feeling at home, seen, acknowledged, affirmed, noticed, etc. And those created the bedrock for what pornography provided to that longing or need in him when it came. So then, after 10 years of using porn as the solution to your problem, what happens? The solution becomes bigger, and the problems it addresses in your life become bigger as well. You just used the example of, I imagine the first time you started drinking, it wasn't that drinking was the coping mechanism, just public speaking, right? It wasn't the solution to the problem of public speaking. But then your brain learns to, okay, well, what else is this useful for, right?
Right.
And then I apply it to that. Oh, it worked, even if it didn't. Well, it worked enough, and that's the only tool I have available to me.
Yeah.
I don't know what else to do, and so I go back there again and again. And again, most of these things are driven by things that live below the level of our conscious until we start slowing down and paying attention.
Yeah.
But I think it's really helpful to be able to acknowledge, and we say it all the time, but sex, porn isn't the problem.
Yeah.
It isn't the problem you're dealing with in your life. It's the solution. It's the learned solution to the problem that you're facing in your life. And the legitimate need you have, and this is why it can be so difficult for spouses as well, whose husband or wife has a sexual issue, which isn't, again, to let them off the hook or to say that there isn't real pain and betrayal in that, because of how important the covenant relationship and sexuality shared there. That's a big deal. So I'm not minimizing that by any degree. But it's really difficult oftentimes for a spouse to acknowledge that this isn't about sex for their partner, right? That it's not about even infidelity to the partner. Even though that's the fact of the matter of what's occurring, it's about an application of a solution to try to be okay in the life as it exists today. And they need to figure out, and it is on the person with the addiction, to be able to learn how to create new patterns and rhythms of life, to learn how to dehabituate that process that craving has overtaken your brain, oftentimes over years and years of development, to be able to experience life in a new way. And again, I echo again, is like, for those who have experienced it, who have gone through the process of healing and transformation, you listen to people who have done the deep work, and there is not an ounce of regret for having to have faced what they've faced and gone through what they've gone through and come out the other side. It deepens relationships. It deepens the foundation of their experience of themselves. And it is universally a blessing to them and to the world we live in, a great gift to be able to do the deep work. So I just want to say both of those things, that sex isn't a need. Communion is the need. Communion oftentimes in development there was a deep lack there. Sexuality, you come of age, sexuality becomes a part of the way that you look at reality, and a big part in that age. And oftentimes those issues and longings and needs become sexualized. And to the extent that you meet them sexually or with another coping mechanism, starts to get hardwired in as the solution to the problem. And you start to believe that is who you are in a dramatic identity sense, or is a very real issue that you have oftentimes when people wake up and find themselves dealing with something like this as an adult.
Yeah. Yeah, and Joe, that last piece you were talking about, I think, is a great transition to the final part about without the ability to stop on your own. I mean, if you do the deep work, as you said, you, in a wild way, become, like, talk about redemption, become grateful for all the shit that you went through, for everything that happened, and even for the addiction, right? Because this, without the ability to stop on your own, you might be listening to this and trying to stop whatever it is. Maybe it's porn, and you get a couple weeks in, and we want to. This idea of the self-made man dies hard, and even if we crucify him, he comes back to life. But for me, and I know for you, Joe, and for anybody that has done the work of their own deep work of engaging their story and seeking freedom and healing, it forces you out of yourself. It gets you out of yourself to rely not just like abstractly, ethereally on God, but through others, through a company of other men that we got to be real, got to be honest with, and are supported by. Because like when I even just the power of even sharing my story with another guy, what happens in my limbic part of my brain that's totally like freaking out, your limbic brain, your emotional cortex helps stabilize mine. This is in the book, The Anatomy of the Soul. It's fascinating. Just the need for community is
co-regulation, mirror neurons.
It's amazing. And ultimately, I think this is just the great gift. We can't do this on our own. White knuckling doesn't work. So we need community. We need others. We need a system. We need a strategy. Certainly, we need grace, and grace coming in the form of these practical tools in our life. So for me, I've come to the point where I'm grateful for the shit I've gone through, the shit that's happened to me, in the way that ultimately I built up addictions. Because I mean, you say this all the time. Is it Carnes that says, turning around and telling your story at the end of it? Like how does he say that?
Dr. Patrick Carnes, who's kind of considered the godfather of our current understanding of sexual addiction and then how to help ourselves and others through it, says that it's an essential part of the process of healing to turn around and to invite others out, right? The act of giving away what you've received, which is certainly abundantly revealed in AA and SA and communities like that have modalities and processes for it, but it's essential for every single one of us. Because it helps deepen and amplify and ground the work that we've done as we turn around and give it away. So just again, highlighting the 4 components: an illegitimate act to meet a legitimate need, habituated over time without the ability to stop on your own, is our favorite definition of addiction. And we've said a lot here, but we just want you to know really what Nick said off the top, which is you are not an addict. You're not an addict. You have an unmet need problem that is wrapped up in shame and repeated action, and you can be free.
Yeah. My name is Nick, and I have an unmet need problem. That's much better than my name is Nick, and I'm an addict. That's an identity statement. That's a really big deal. It's a really big deal. Labels, statements. Do I have a disorder? Do I have an attention deficit disorder? Right? Labels are huge. And so I just want to double down on what you just said. Your identity is not one of an addict. Let's not live under that sentence and that statement, but you have, again, it's the solution. It's not the problem. It's the solution to your problem. We have unmet needs that we have to engage and wrestle with and seek ordered, legitimate ways to fill those.
Love it. Awesome. You can find us active on Instagram, Facebook occasionally, my favorite social media platform, LinkedIn. And the boys from Tuesday night are trying to get us on X. I don't know if it's going to happen or not, but apparently you can get a lot more access to people who hate what you're trying to say on X, and that's good for the soul. So maybe we'll be there someday soon.
Real quick plug for them.
Yeah, that's right. We got freedom groups launching this next month. If you got a unmet need problem that surfaces in the solution of pornography, we'd love to help. If you're ready to stop trying to do it on your own, could use some encouragement, people coming alongside you, other guys that are dealing with it, people to get in the weeds with you to help you sort out what's up, what's down, how to make progress, and a guarantee to get there. You can find us at thefreedomgroup.co. If porn isn't the solution to your problems, but you are aware that purpose is lacking in your life, we created a brand new community called the Kingmakers Community, which helps guys build an operating system for their life so that you can live with intention and thrive. We help you in the onboarding phase, go through an intentional process of exploration and discovery from 30,000 foot view vision. Where do I want to go? What's the ultimate song of my life? Down to rubber hits the road. Okay, so how does that influence the way you wake up tomorrow morning? And then having the encouragement and courage to do it together. I'm reading an incredible book right now called Outwitting the Devil? Outwitting the Devil by Napoleon Hill, 1920s author, largely considered the premier philosopher on personal achievement and success. And he talks about this idea of the mastermind, where you get around people, and every successful person, all 500 of them plus he interviewed in the context of his time researching this, all said the same thing. This idea of being around minds better and brighter than yours created the depth of success that they experienced and had in their life as an absolute essential category. And not only that, did it get them around better and brighter, but people, and I just posted on LinkedIn about this morning as I was reading, but people who don't live under the same weight of the particular fear that you do. And I think that's really, really big for us and something that we press into in the Kingmakers community, because I fear what other people think about me, and that affects decisions that I make in life. And I need to be around other people. And the guy sitting on the screen with me is one of them, who lives life as if nobody, if he didn't care what other people thought about him. And I learn a lot from that. And I gain courage and resolve to push harder in life as a result of being in the room. So if that's stirring something in you, we'd love to talk to you about it. We're about to launch some freaking awesome things to give away free stuff, tons of free value on both fronts. So stay tuned for that. We'll be sharing that through our email newsletter, so you can sign up for that on our website. Or we'll be sharing it on our social media accounts. You can go follow us there. We're gonna tell the world about it eventually, but we're gonna start leaking it to our favorite people first. So that's guys in freedom groups, guys on our email list, and then we'll go out from there. So if you want to hear from it first, get on our email newsletter. You can reach out to us to give us your email, or you can go find the email newsletter button on the website and get access to it there. Otherwise, we will keep you posted with the rest of the world as it becomes available. All right, fellas. We're grateful for you. This is Nick and Joe signing off from the Manual Podcast. Have an awesome week.
Peace.